Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be installing DCC and sound in this Athearn Genesis ES44. This is a ESU 58429 21 pin generic sound decoder paired with a decoder buddy from Nick's Trains with the 1K ohm. This unit is, I think, from the last release of Athearn Genesis ES44, so it's got PTC 21 pin plug as well as LEDs, but the factory boards have resistors that make the LEDs real dim, so I'm swapping out for an aftermarket board, obviously the Decoder Buddy by Nick's Trains. So wanted to do an install video just so you guys can see what this process looks like, and yeah, we'll get into it. Hope you guys enjoy. All right, so I wanted to show this for a point of reference. This is the ESU lock sound decoder plugged into the factory Athearn board. Maybe kind of hard to tell, I have the lights dimmed, but the headlights aren't particularly bright. They look okay. But they could be a lot better, and that's going to be fixed with the lower resistor in the Decoder Buddy. But I did just want to show this for point of reference, like I said, and hopefully by the end of the video when I show it with the Decoder Buddy, you'll be able to tell a difference. All right, so I've got the shell back off. You can see here I've got the 21 pin plug showing there. I've got the decoder taken out. So this is a factory Athearn board, as you can see, and one thing I never like about what they do is they put these little clips in instead of soldering stuff in, and if you ever run into issues down the road, these can always be a culprit. So this whole entire board is going to be leaving. Fortunately, there's not too much to take care of. You've got your motor wires on each side, and then you've got your lights, and that's about it as far as what you have to solder into the new Decoder Buddy. But the Decoder Buddy is very helpful with a diagram that I'll show in just a second so you can understand where these wires go. So you can see here, this is the Decoder Buddy diagram. You've got your motor wires, orange and gray, and then you've got your track pickup wires on both sides, as well as your speaker pads. So that's for the main board, and then we'll talk more about where the LEDs for the lights are going to get soldered momentarily. So I want to show this just so you can have a better understanding that's a little bit more simplified. So you can see the shell's completely disconnected. All those wires that are in the shell are solely for lights, headlights, ditch lights, and then the rear headlights as well. But I want to show that there's only 6 connections to make to the new board. A lot of people get overwhelmed with the thought of putting in all this aftermarket stuff, but it's actually very, very simple. So you can see that there's 2 wires, 1 and 2 for the rear truck. Those are your pickups. Same thing for the front, 1 and 2 for the front. And then you have your red and black wire for your motor drive. Now, it's listed as orange and gray on the Decoder Buddy, but you can figure it out pretty quick that red is orange and black is gray. So pretty simple. So we're going to get the new board in place, and then we will get everything soldered up for the board. Real quick, you can see I've got the new board installed. I've got the 2 rear track pickup wires installed, the 2 front track pickup wires installed, and then I've got the 2 motor wires, which you can't see, but they're soldered in on that top side right there. And then I've got the Decoder Buddy, the decoder plugged into the Decoder Buddy. You can see on address 3, can see that it moves both directions and everything is kosher there. So I know everything works fine, and now we can move on to doing the lights. Here's the connector board diagram. This is what plugs into the decoder board in addition to the decoder, and this is your lighting and output controls, so all your lighting and features of that sort. It's pretty simple here. You can see AOF is front headlight, AOR is rear, and then you just solder whatever auxiliary functions you have on whatever pads you want them on, if you have ground lights or truck lights or whatever the case may be, and then you obviously also solder them to a function common as well. This is exactly what it looks like. AOF is going to be where we put our negative for our headlight. AOR is going to be where we put our negative for our rear headlight, and then we can pick whatever function we want to put the ditch lights on. Okay, so here's the final product. Everything's all soldered in. You can see I have 6 solders total for lighting. AOF, top right, the black and red, those are for the front headlight. Top left, black and red, those are for the rear headlight. And then you can see on aux 2, and then the function common is the red at the top. In the middle, those are for my ditch lights. So I'll be adding truck lights to this unit eventually. I'll probably put them on auxiliary 1. And then from there, in the lock programmer, you can go in and decide what auxiliary becomes what function on the throttle. So for example, I'm about to program this to where auxiliary 2 is F5 on my throttle, so my ditch lights will come on function 5 on my remote. And then whenever the time comes when I put in truck lights, I'll probably put those on maybe F7 is generally what I do. So that's a good look at that. Let's put the shell back on and see how these headlights look. All right, here's the final product. You can see that they're much brighter than they were previously with the factory Athearn board. Kind of frustrating that on an expensive model like this that already comes with LEDs and a 21 pin, I have to go through it and change out the board. But for whatever reason, Athearn is still using Tsunami. In my opinion, Tsunami is quite outdated. If you're a prototypical modeler and you're spending $300+ on a sound equipped model, it should come with something that's accurate, whereas Tsunami sound is just not. They've used the same horn and bell files that they have been for a very long time, and there's not much customization. So hopefully Athearn at some point will hop on the bandwagon as all the other manufacturers and start using lock sound. It's just much better. So I do have quite a few older models that came with Tsunami or didn't come with sound that are DCC ready that I'll have to be swapping in decoder buddies and 21 pin lock sounds. So more to come of this kind of stuff. I don't do it very much, but I figured I'd make a quick little tutorial since this is a relatively easy one. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. If you have questions or comments, feel free to drop them down below, and I'm happy to help answer anything you may have. So that's it, guys. We'll see you next time.